I never imagined a simple drive to my dad's farm would turn into one of the most stressful days of my life. I was excited, thinking about just me, the open road, and the smell of fresh country air. The farm had always been my happy place, the one spot where I could escape the chaos of the city. But when I got there, everything changed in a heartbeat. I pulled up to the driveway, feeling that familiar thrill, only to be stopped by two men I didn't recognize, standing like sentries at the entrance. "Can I help you?" I asked, trying to sound casual, but my stomach was already twisting. One of them stepped forward, arms crossed, looking at me like I was some kind of intruder. "You can't come in. You're banned from this property." My heart skipped a beat. I stared at him, disbelief making my voice shake. "Wait, what? Are you serious? This is my dad's land. I come here all the time." He didn't move. "Rules are rules. HOA says no visitors. You're not allowed here." I felt my chest tighten and my hands go clammy. This can't be happening. I've been coming here for years, helping my dad, fixing things, filming videos, making memories. How could strangers suddenly decide I don't belong on my own family's land? "Can I at least call my dad?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "No," the other guard said coldly. "He's not here. You'll have to leave." I felt a wave of panic hit me. I was frozen, looking at the sprawling fields, the barn, the creek where I used to fish with my dad, and realizing that I couldn't even step foot on it. Memories of riding my first bike down that dirt path, sneaking out at dusk, laughing with my friends, helping my dad repair the fence. All of it now seemed suddenly stolen from me. I grabbed my camera from the passenger seat, thinking maybe I could record this, at least document what was happening. I didn't want to fight. I just wanted to see the place that had always been my sanctuary. I tried to reason with them, my voice pleading, "Listen, I'm family. This is my father's farm. I have every right to be here." But they wouldn't budge, and I could see the absolute finality in their eyes. I took a deep breath, trying to calm the storm inside me, but anger, frustration, and heartbreak were crashing over me all at once. I felt powerless, trapped outside the place I'd always called home. And I couldn't believe this was really happening. I couldn't even process the idea that a few strangers enforcing HOA rules could take away my connection to my dad's land. I stood there for a long moment, unsure whether to yell, to plead more, or just drive away in defeat. The quiet of the fields around me made the confrontation feel even harsher, the silence echoing the disbelief in my own head. My dad had worked so hard to keep this land, to pass it down through our family, and now I was staring at it like a stranger, kept out by rules that seemed designed to hurt me. I felt tears sting my eyes, a mix of sadness and fury, and I realized I could just leave without doing something. I needed answers. I needed someone to explain how this could be happening. I needed to reclaim a piece of my past before it was lost forever. So I stepped forward again, trying once more to reason with them, my voice shaking but louder this time. "Please, I just want to see my dad's farm. This is important to me." They exchanged a look, unmoved, and repeated the same line. "You can't come in. You're banned." I felt a surge of helplessness, but also determination. I wasn't going to let this end here. I had to find a way in, had to talk to my dad, had to fight for what was mine. And as I stood there, my camera ready in my hand, I knew that whatever happened next, this was going to be a story I had to tell. A story about family, about rules, and about fighting for what you love. I couldn't turn back. I wouldn't. I sat in my truck for a few minutes, gripping the steering wheel, trying to think. The guards hadn't moved, and every second felt heavier. I could see the barn in the distance, the creek glinting in the sunlight, and my mind kept replaying memories I didn't realize I'd missed so much. I thought about Dad, how he loved this place, how he'd spend hours teaching me how to care for the land, how he'd laugh at my clumsy attempts at fixing fences. And now, for the first time, I was completely cut off from it. I had to do something. I couldn't just leave. I pulled my phone out and dialed Dad. My fingers trembling. Ring, ring, no answer, ring, ring, straight to voicemail. I left a message, my voice tight with frustration. "Dad, it's me. I'm at the farm. They won't let me in. Can you call me back?" I hung up and stared at the guards. Maybe if I stayed calm, if I explained myself more clearly, they'd let me through. I stepped out of the truck, hands slightly raised, hoping my tone would make a difference. Look, I just want to visit my dad. I've been coming here forever. This doesn't make sense. One of them shook his head. Rules are rules. HOA says no visitors. You need to leave. I felt a lump in my throat. This wasn't about rules. This was about my family, about my history, about a place that had shaped who I am. Can you at least tell me who I can talk to? Someone who can fix this? I asked, my voice cracking slightly. They exchanged glances and gave me a name. A phone number of someone in the HOA office. I scribbled it down, but I could feel the tension in my chest building. I didn't want bureaucracy. I wanted my dad. I wanted the familiar comfort of the farmhouse, the smell of hay, the creak of the old floorboards. I got back into the truck and stared at the open road beyond the guards, trying to think. Should I drive around and find another entrance? Should I call neighbors? Every option seemed impossible. But then I remembered something Dad had told me when I was a kid. Sometimes, if you really care about something, you have to stand your ground. I swallowed hard, knowing he'd want me to do the same. Now, I grabbed my camera again and started recording. This is unbelievable, I said, trying to keep my voice steady, even as anger mixed with hurt. I'm at my dad's farm, and these guards, they're telling me I can't come in. I've been coming here my whole life. I don't understand how this is even possible. I paced back and forth, talking into the camera, venting my frustration. It felt good, in a way, to speak aloud, to capture this moment, but it also reminded me how isolated I was. I didn't even know if anyone would hear this story, but I couldn't let it go untold. After a while, I tried calling the HOA number. It rang, and finally someone picked up. A polite but firm woman told me I couldn't enter the property without explicit approval and that all disputes had to go through formal channels. I could feel my patience wearing thin. Formal channels meant weeks, maybe months of back and forth while I was sitting here, locked out of a place that meant everything to me. My throat was tight, my hands shaking, but I refused to give up. I drove slowly around the perimeter, hoping to spot a way in, something I could use to get closer, to see the farmhouse, to at least connect with the land for a few minutes. I parked near a small trail at the edge of the property and got out, listening for the sounds of life, birds chirping, wind rustling the trees, but nothing else. No dad, no helpers, no familiar faces, just the fields and the fences that now felt like walls keeping me out. I walked a little down the trail, careful not to step onto the main property, and my heart ached. Every step reminded me how much I loved this place, how much of my childhood was tied to it, and how unfair it felt to be treated like a stranger. I started talking to the camera again, my voice low, almost pleading. I don't know what to do. This is my dad's land. I grew up here, and now I can't even go in. I just want someone to explain why. Someone to let me in, even for a few minutes. The sun was starting to dip lower in the sky, casting long shadows over the fields. I knew I couldn't stay forever, but I also knew I couldn't leave without trying one last time. I took a deep breath and decided to drive back toward the main entrance, hoping maybe, just maybe, Dad would call back or the guards would soften. As I pulled up, I noticed a small flicker of movement near the barn. Maybe someone was out there. My heart leapt. I honked the horn, hoping it was Dad. No response. I tried shouting, my voice echoing across the fields. Dad, it's me! Can you hear me? Silence. The emptiness of the farm pressed in on me, heavier than I expected. I felt a wave of despair and frustration, but also a burning determination. I wasn't going to let this go. I wasn't going to let a couple of guards and some HOA rules erase my connection to the place that shaped my life. I knew I had to find a way to reach him, to explain the situation, to fight for even a few minutes on the land I love. And with that thought, I sat in the truck again, gripping the wheel, staring at the fences that kept me out, promising myself I wasn't leaving until I had a plan. Something had to give. Something had to change. And I was ready to do whatever it took. I sat in my truck for a long time, staring at the fence, thinking about all the memories that were locked behind it. I could hear the wind moving through the trees, birds chirping, and for a moment it felt almost peaceful, like the farm itself was trying to calm me down. But then reality hit me again. I couldn't just sit there forever. I had to find a way in. I thought about Dad, about how he would have told me to stay calm but also to stand my ground. I needed a plan. A way to show that this wasn't just about breaking rules. It was about family, about connection, about respect. I grabbed my camera again, hoping that recording everything might help someone understand what was happening. "This is insane," I whispered, my voice tight. "I'm at my dad's farm and I can't even get in. I've been coming here my whole life. I don't know how this is even legal, but I need to find a way in." I started walking slowly along the edge of the property, staying careful not to step onto the main land, but looking for any gap, any opening, any sign that I could get closer. Every step felt heavier than the last, because I wasn't just fighting for access. I was fighting for my connection to my past, to my childhood, to my dad. I rounded a corner and saw a small side path partially hidden by overgrown grass. My heart raced. Could this be a way in? I took a deep breath and walked toward it, trying to keep my movements calm and natural, hoping no one was watching from the main entrance. Every crunch of gravel under my feet sounded loud in the quiet afternoon. I kept thinking about the times Dad and I used to come down this path, talking about everything from silly jokes to serious life lessons. Now I felt like a stranger trespassing where I had every right to belong. I reached the edge of the path and saw a small shed in the distance, its paint peeling and wood weathered by years of wind and sun. I remembered helping Dad paint it when I was a kid. My chest tightened, a mix of sadness and anger swelling inside me. Why were rules coming before memories? Before family? I felt tears sting my eyes, but I blinked them away. I couldn't give up, not now. I needed to see Dad, even if just for a minute, even if I had to sneak in and explain later. I moved slowly, my camera recording every step, talking quietly into it, so my frustration didn't overwhelm me completely. "I don't know how this happened," I whispered, almost to myself. "All I want is to see my dad. That's it. I grew up here. This is my home, and yet I'm being treated like a stranger." As I walked, I heard voices. My heart skipped a beat. Were they the guards? Were they calling for me? I froze, trying to stay calm. The voices faded, and I realized they were probably just passing hikers or neighbors. Relief washed over me, but it was short-lived. I knew they could come back at any time. I had to be careful. Step by step, I edged closer to the barn, to the old farmhouse, feeling every memory come alive. The smell of fresh hay, the sound of the creek, the laughter that used to echo across the fields. I had to hold on to that even if I was being kept out. And then, just as I was approaching the corner of the barn, I heard a familiar voice call out my name. My head shot up. "Is that Dad?" I whispered. I ran toward the voice, and there he was, standing just beyond the shed, looking as surprised to see me as I was to see him. "What are you doing here? Why aren't you at work?" he asked, worry clear in his voice. I threw my arms around him, unable to hold back my emotions. "Dad, I came to visit and they won't let me in. HOA guards. They said I'm banned from your property." His eyes widened in shock and he grabbed my shoulders. "What? That's insane. They can't do that. You're my kid. This is your home." I explained everything, my voice breaking as I recounted the conversation with the guards, the phone calls, and the fear that I might be completely shut out. He listened silently, eyes narrowing in anger, but also relief that I had made it to him. "Don't worry," he said finally. "We'll figure this out. Let's get inside, and then we'll call them together. Nobody's going to keep you off my land." Relief, anger, sadness, and love all hit me at once. I felt tears slip down my cheeks, but this time, they were tears of gratitude and reunion. I followed him toward the farmhouse, my heart racing with a mix of adrenaline and happiness. For the first time that day, I felt like I was exactly where I belonged. And as we stepped inside, I promised myself I wouldn't let rules or strangers ever make me feel like an outsider here again. I would fight for this connection, for these memories, for my family, no matter what it took. I couldn't believe I was finally inside the farmhouse. After hours of pacing outside, arguing with the guards, and feeling like a stranger on my own dad's land, I was here. My dad led me through the doorway, shaking his head, muttering about how ridiculous the whole situation had been. The smell of the wood, the faint trace of hay, and that familiar, slightly worn scent of old farmhouse walls hit me all at once. It was like stepping back into my childhood. I flopped into a chair, my legs trembling, my heart still racing from the adrenaline of the confrontation outside. I let out a shaky laugh. "I can't believe they actually tried to stop me." Dad leaned against the counter, arms crossed. His face a mixture of disbelief, frustration, and relief. Neither can I. Guards, HOA rules. It's insane. Nobody should have that kind of power over someone's family, especially not you. I swallowed hard, trying to calm myself. The exhaustion, the fear, the anger, all of it was still there, simmering beneath the surface. I don't understand how this could happen. How can rules be more important than family? I've been coming here my whole life. My voice cracked a little and I could see his jaw tighten. He walked over and put a hand on my shoulder. I know. It's ridiculous. But listen, this is temporary. We'll fix this. You shouldn't have been stopped. And I'm going to make sure they understand that. Even as he spoke, I felt the weight of what had happened pressing on me. The guards, the refusal to let me in. The fear that I might be locked out forever. It was all too much. I realized something I hadn't thought about until now. This farm wasn't just a piece of land. It was a collection of memories, of moments that shaped who I am. And for a few hours, someone had tried to take that away from me. We sat down at the old wooden kitchen table, the one scarred with years of meals, homework sessions, and late-night talks. I could feel the grooves of the wood under my fingers, the same ones I had traced as a kid while telling Dad about my day at school. I just can't believe it got to this point, I said, my voice quieter now, more reflective. It's like I was treated like an outsider in my own family's home. Dad nodded slowly, understanding. It's unfair, but we're here now and we'll deal with the HOA. Rules are rules. But family is stronger than any rule. They can't take that away from you. I leaned back in my chair, my mind replaying the whole ordeal, the shock at the gate, the conversation with the guards, the helplessness, the phone calls that went unanswered, and then the relief when I finally saw Dad near the shed, and the feeling of running toward him like nothing else mattered. I realized the rawness of my emotions was because this place wasn't just a farm, it was the connection between me and Dad, between past and present. After a moment of silence, Dad leaned forward. We need a plan. First, I'm calling the HOA first thing tomorrow. They need to know you are allowed here, but we can't just wait. We need to document everything, and maybe even record some of it, in case they try to block you again. I nodded, picking up my camera again. Yeah. I've already started filming some of this, I admitted. It's like proof that this happened. And maybe it helps other people too, you know? People who've been treated unfairly. Dad smiled faintly. That's a good idea. Documenting it is smart. But remember, don't let it control your emotions. You need to stay calm, logical, and safe. We spent the next hour walking through the farmhouse together, talking about what had happened, planning our next steps, and revisiting the memories that made this place so special. Every room had a story. The living room where Dad taught me to read maps, the kitchen where we made pancakes every Sunday, the barn where I learned to drive the old tractor. Everywhere I looked, memories hit me like waves, and yet the shadow of the guards outside, the fear of being banned, still lingered. Eventually, Dad suggested we step outside to check the property. The sun was beginning to dip, casting long shadows across the fields. The air was warm but carried a hint of the coming evening chill. As we walked, I ran my hands along the old fence, feeling the texture of the wood that had supported generations of my family. I thought about how many times I had climbed over it as a kid, imagining the world beyond, and now it felt like it had turned into a wall keeping me out. Dad stopped and looked at me. You know, I can't believe they thought rules could keep you out. You've got as much right here as I do. And one thing I've learned, rules can change, but family doesn't. I smiled, though a lump formed in my throat. I don't ever want to feel like an outsider here again. I've fought for this place in my own way, but today really hit me. I almost lost it before I even got inside. He put his hand on my shoulder again. You didn't lose it. You found your way back, and we'll make sure it stays that way. Nobody's taking this away from us. We spent the next hour walking around the barn and the fields, recounting old stories, laughing about stupid things I had done as a kid, and talking seriously about what needed to be done to ensure the HOA never threatened my access again. I could feel the tension from earlier slowly melting away, replaced by determination and connection. I knew that as long as we faced it together, we could handle anything. As the sky turned orange and pink, I set up my camera one last time. To anyone watching this, I said, speaking directly to the lens, sometimes the people who are Supposed to protect rules, forget about the people those rules are meant to serve. But don't let that stop you. Fight for your family, fight for your home, and fight for what matters. I paused, letting my voice settle, hoping my words would resonate. And if you've ever been treated unfairly, I want you to know, you're not alone. Stand your ground, and never let anyone tell you that you don't belong where you do. Then I added, smiling with a mix of exhaustion and triumph, if you like this story, make sure to subscribe, leave a comment, and share your experiences. And if you want to join our VIP updates, hit that notification bell. You don't want to miss what's coming next. As the last light faded, I packed up my camera, and we walked back toward the farmhouse. I paused for a moment, looking at the fields, the barn, and the old fence. Today I realized something important: connection. Memory and love are stronger than any rule, any stranger, any obstacle. The fight with the HOA might not be over, but I had reclaimed a part of my life that no one could take away, and that was enough. Walking inside with Dad, I felt a sense of calm I hadn't felt all day. My heart was full, my spirit lighter, and even though the challenges ahead were still there, I knew we could face them together. For the first time, I truly understood what home meant. Not just the land, not just the farmhouse, but the people, the memories, and the bond that nothing could break.